This video I'm going to title, I've changed my mind, I don't want a son. Jesus is son enough for me. Christ, I meant to say. Who has provided all the human race the gift of the Holy Spirit, and I don't believe that every gift is connected to a curse. And or generational condemnations. I don't believe that. It depends whether you are practicing Christian or not. So in here I have my medicine, so I'm just going to drink that. No, you see it, no you don't. So, remarkable to do this video and hopefully put it in the press. Make the story wide known. So the sinners have a different priority, and that is to have a baby. And it's traditional to have a baby boy in the household. And many women are killed or murdered as a result of not being able to produce a baby boy in many traditions. And this type of reaction related to arranged marriages is extremely cruel. And some women have no choice. They cannot escape. And suggesting that all third world nations, women who have been murdered in third world nations or even the rich countries by their husbands, have injustice because the men are let off because they were married to their spouses. And so there is this culture in the systemic abuse in the world that normalizes abuse for spouses and couples. And I'm learning this and recounting my memories of domestic violence. So for example, the judge will say a stranger murdering a woman or on the street would be confronted by a judge with a stronger and more severe sentence compared to a husband who did it to his wife. And I've learned this today. And some wives have survived in hospital. And definitely there is also road rage and car traffic accidents that is listed as road rage, when in fact it is domestic abuse in disguise. I know that if I would drive a car, the first thing I would do, if I had a license, was find the one who murdered my family and kick the shit out of his car and bust it. I would drive him over. Because that's how angry I am for the fact that everything that he has said, that I never had a relationship with this man. He's a stalker connected to a hell police force from hell, an individual that I don't know, that what's he going to do next? Arrest me for not having a COVID vaccination because his wife couldn't get pregnant, or she got pregnant taking COVID vaccinations? it's constant abuse on the marginalised communities and women who are in poverty. And this is coming from the men who have been demasculinated and they don't want to be the breadwinner, who are in fact as violent or as sexually abusive. If they're not violent, they're sexually abusive in comparison. So it's interesting statistics to know for murder cases and crime cases, since God knows everything, is the ultimate judge, and we cannot assume anything. So God has sent us angels to protect us. This is what I've learned. And that is a miracle, myself having a religious background as a devout Christian, not a Jehovah's Witness. So sharing my faith publicly is the knowing, the witnessing for angels and God's protections when there is no one else to protect, or if everybody else is too busy or they have problems of their own. Wherever we go. So it is our duty and responsibility not to allow a sinner or any criminal get its rotten, rude, rioting revenge. That's God's justice. God has died once, even though if they could, they would crucify Christ all over again. So that we could live. We die with him and we live with him. We die in the sense of being surrounded by darkness, being surrounded by social isolation, trauma. But it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm depressed, that I have ADHD or any other mental diagnosis because I've been alone too long or I had grief for too long. It's not true. God helped me to survive trauma. And that was many years ago. And I'm here laughing at home, not because I'm a crazy clown or watching too many comedians. No, I just laugh because I enjoy my life, and I'm happy that it's a miracle I'm walking again for my disability and other miracles God gave me. And hopefully one day I'll be compensated for all the evils that they've done to me. But it is very wrong for strangers to assume that I'm suicidal because I've gone through all of this through hell. And I have too many problems as a result of my bullies. I have too many bullies and oppressors. Because God is protecting me in life-death situations. And I was listening to some individual talk about, I don't know if I should say it, or go on, I'll say it. A Trevor Noah was speaking on Diary CEO on YouTube. And perhaps because I think he's looking to maybe settle down and be a father himself one day. He's reviewing his childhood or the worst times in his life. And it is important to do this, to witness in the public my maturity and sensibility. But it's not like a raffle ticket where you are randomly chosen to be listened to. And no, it's my own diary too. What I have learnt. how the witches have attempted to emphasize how the jealous and envious narcissists and abusers were determined to take away my beauty, my health, any wealth that I had, any hard work that I've done, everything away from me. And there was only the two of us, me and my daughter, as a single mum. She lived with me for 10 years. And then it was never the case that she was caring for me or nursing me. It was never the case that I smothered her or that I gave her too much freedom or too little freedom. No, it was quite balanced. And we lived together for about 10 years. I wanted her to see her sister and brother, but her father didn't. And wherever I went, I took my daughter with me. I never left her alone anywhere. I don't know how they're calling me a monster and a child abuser. It's my ex-husband's family that is that. And he was readily having multiple spouses, and his spouses had affairs, and the family were detached, not close as they should have been, and their experience is constant negativity. There is nothing positive. And did he go up in the bed with my daughter, or to get his mental sickness, reverse psychology, revenge on his ex-wife, did he go in bed with his own daughter, called Charlotte, when the mother wasn't looking? And he did the same thing to my daughter, called Ellen, when I wasn't looking, when I was taken away to forcefully. They said, go involuntarily, that you had a nervous breakdown, like you're going through a divorce, or we will force you in there. So they forced me, they imposed it on me, which is the same as a Nazi's concentration camp, the mental health institution. And they misdiagnosed me. And I've never been diagnosed with paranoia or schizophrenia or ADHD. I could have a tendency of being a psychopath. That means taken out my frustration and my self-hatred on someone else who had made me hate myself. I would want to murder that person. So that is a type of a psychopath or a sociopath. Or alternatively, I could say an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. You made me hate my life, so I'm going to make you hate your life and hate yourself. Because you hate yourself, you started it, so I'll finish it. And so this is what they've done. Total strangers. Haven't dated with them, never had intercourse with them, never had a meal with them. They came and destroyed everything as neighbours of hell in my previous property, where I was stalked, where I lived with my daughter. And as soon as we got some good news and had a new home, and her first new school and first new home, it was my third home, it was her first home, they made everything collapsed by separating us, saying I had no family, saying I had no job, saying that I was totally disabled, saying that I had long history of mental health service use, all of this discrimination. So other families have had long-term use of mental health and they still have their children with them. No, it was the same individual with a corrupt police officer from hell that has enabled the authorities to do to me the same things that the Americans are doing to illegals in America. I'm not illegal. I've lived here since I was 7 years old. I'm British. I have a British passport. I speak British. And because I was this type of an orphan, they targeted me. So they, as a result, become the bad, evil orphans and outcast as tyrannical victims. Nobody likes them because that's what they've done to the holy orphans and outcasts and widows. So everybody liked me. Everybody took care of me. Everybody wanted to be part of my family for the experience of being part of the community. I attended church sometimes. I did have some work. I did join in as a teacher's assistant for voluntary work. I did do what I could, but it was almost impossible because I had no family, relatives near me, and they didn't want to know me. And so during that 6 months period when they took me away in 2008, he had her. And he could have taken her into his bed. And my daughter's half-sister, as revenge that his wife had gone into his brother's bed, which was his biological brother. It's the same as it is incest sex. So it's a cursed family. And Trevor reminded me, and he prepared me to know what to say in connection to any murder of a family. That a family is a curse when the dad has a psychological history or bad baggage. He would snuggle up some crime and get away with it. So he betrayed me as Judas Iscariot betrayed Jesus Christ. And during the day of his bypass surgery for his heart operation in May 2012, he told me that he was going to overdose on tablets and pills he was not supposed to take, and he knew that. So I was dumbfounded, taking breath, saying, no, don't do that. He wasn't listening to me. I could see and sense through his soul that his intentions were self-harm and suicide. And because of what he did, he knew that the government would get revenge for his death in wanting to murder me next. So that's what I'm doing as a public witness. To say, as a holy type of orphan, that means I believe in God. It means I have faith in God. It means that I had the right touch in attacking a demon. The right touch in disciplining. Once in a lifetime, using a small little thin branch stick from a tree across her legs or a bottom, because I didn't use a wooden spoon or stick. But that was not child abuse. That was discipline, and made her sit on a naughty step until she acknowledged what she was doing was wrong and was not safe. So I made the safe environment. I made a stable environment. And I didn't go clubbing. I didn't have many sexual partners. I remained single to protect her. And I realized in this video that this toxic culture that men have, where they're being demasculinated in relation to the government, too many governors, and the government being so big, it should be small per household and people should choose. And so people are confused about the events of Brexit in the United Kingdom and other exit from what people have gotten used to. I don't know what Britain wants, because it's gone down into Africa. It's become a bigger empire. It owns Africa. I don't know what it wants. It wants to rouse up some new empire. And so if men have got a job, this is another reason why my ex-husband at the time committed suicide, is that he felt useless, even though he kept his job to upkeep himself, or he was complaining about child maintenance being too expensive, so he reduced it. But when it's about the money, I mean, fame and fortune is not all evil. It depends on what type of fame and fortune. Is it a fame for the work of what the Holy Spirit wants, or is it the fame for the work of what the devil wants? And so that's the question, and the right type of reaction to hostility, hostile environment, constant tension, constant threat. And it is hard hitting many households and families in England, because men don't feel like men anymore. Because that moral code is based on politics, not true religion. It's false religion. That he's supposed to be the head for the Christian community and home. He's supposed to be the one who chooses, the one who anoints, and the one who preaches mostly. Women do too, but mainly men as the head of the woman, according to God's ways and laws and orders. To believe in a family, to believe in empathy of experience and clear communication, to believe in something that is greater than paganism, for holy witnessing and holy festivals, so that these parties are not perverted for drugs, money, and creating things for your next gig or your next business opportunity. Once the door is opened and it's used up and emptied of that opportunity, they get a paycheck, and then they're looking for the next and the next and the next. It's not fulfilling, it's emptying, to constantly bow down to the money god, to the sex god, to the drug god, to the next idol, the next model, the next upgrade. They become desensitized as a result. In every sense, the five senses, the intuition, everything is become universal as a type of a cosmopolitan of unisex, and as bad angels, not the good angels, as bad angels. Bad angels are LGBTQ. They have rebelled, whereas the good angels don't have agenda. They don't have an agenda, political agenda, but they could have a political agenda in the case of holy war, fighting. No, I didn't meant to say agenda. I meant to say gender as in their genitals. They're neither, according to what Christ had said. And so I'm sort of snuggled down, trying to relax this evening. after I have suffered a lot of political, abuse of political powers and professional powers and abuse, which has caused like a freezing effect of being exhausted and exasperated from bad stresses. So I'm just trying to relax a little bit. And once I'd had enough, I can then proceed with normality of things, such as updating my broadband internet, making arrangements with them. And I have distinctly noticed that they're determined in exploiting me further with making the internet more expensive to use, which is totally unfair because more people use it. Since more people use the internet at home, it should be cheaper, not more expensive. But they're saying that if I go for the expensive package, I would have better security, which is a total myth. It's a total defrauding me. So that's the next thing I hope to do by, if God wills, tomorrow. But what upsets me the most in life is that my own relatives, cousins, aunties, father, mother, have left me as dead, as a stranger, and never recognised what I have done with God as a witness, doing God's will. All they've ever done is slander me, look for fault, covert narcissists, and they expected me to drown by a curse associated to this flat, which is Psalms 69 and door 69. They've accused me of attracting married men. They've accused me, these evil couples, of all types of empty speculations and saying that I was bitter. No, I turned my lemon into lemonade. There's the lemon. And I just add some honey. And I'm sweet enough after I've had enough rest. But it annoys me that politics has been forced on me on my social media, in my home, in my neighbourhood. And there's nothing more annoying than that. Because they're looking to make something very unusual through conspiracy to attack me. Once they have attacked me, they can then concentrate on removing my confidence. Since English is not my first language, I accidentally, by mistake, mentioned I have my pride, or I'm proud of you. But what I actually meant is I like your self-esteem. I like to boost your self-esteem for those loved ones. And I expect to give love and to receive love. So it's give and take, not one-sided, which is dysfunctional. And it's never been my fault. It's always been the fault of the abusers. And they always have to be the centre of attention now that it seems as though I'm abusing them. Yeah. I'm not quick to abuse anybody with slander or with insults. Not. And it takes a lot out of me, as the patience of a saint, to insult someone after they insulted me like so many times until I lose my patience, and then I insult them back. And then they want to kill me. They want to murder me for insulting them back calling them ugly, calling them old, calling them diseased. And the sole topic of the conversation is that the hypocrisy of these tyrannical criminals, in realization that it's okay for them to insult me constantly, 24/7, accuse me, but it's not okay for me suddenly to have an outburst and publicize the fact that I could insult them too. It's my God-given right. And according to the Holy Bible, I keep bringing this up, it's Matthew chapter 18 about forgiveness, to forgive or not to forgive. I think it is Matthew 18. Let's see if I can find it. I can't find the book now. It's here somewhere. Ouch. And and so what you loose in heaven, you loose on earth. And this is the message for Christians, not for the non-Christians. For non-Christians, since they don't know God, this is why they've made it into a tradition everywhere, in every nation, to normalize or subdue, suppress the abuser. In other words, to compliment the abuser, to credit the abuser, to calm down the abuser, to cool it down, rather than adding hot coals on it. It says you add hot coals of hell on the abuser when you're nice to them. But if you become nasty to them, they become frozen and they want to kill you, murder you, because you made them feel frozen. You have differentiated yourself as more special because they're privileged, and God's people are not privileged in poverty. We don't have the right medication. We survived death. Oh, we had to take care of each other as children, lose our childhood at a very young age. Either have brothers and sisters or don't have brothers and sisters. So we had to learn the hard way as holy orphans and outcasts. And not every type of being alone survivor is lonely, because sometimes being alone is a gift, not a curse. Because then you can remember your happy memories without anyone interrupting you. You can take a dog for a walk if you've got a dog, and make the dog go into the river to fetch a bone or hide a dead body. It would make me very, very happy if my number one enemy could suddenly mysteriously drop dead, not because God allowed me to find a weapon and murder or kill it. No, it's God that did the killing. Right, a natural death. You suddenly pop off. And then I can be alone and remember what God has done for me to save me from a madman, a paedophile, a pervert, a problematic, very bad father. My maternal father, my biological father, I cannot call him a father. He never gave me financial support. He came across to England only on holiday and only to get a visa to come and live here, to use and abuse me and sponge off of me. But then he would eventually find a job and not sponge off me anymore. He would discard me and rubbish me after he used and abused me. So this was the devil's sword in front of me, behind me, and everywhere. So God came with a holy angel to have the holy sword too. He didn't care that my mother's boyfriend sexually abused me from a very young age. I was younger than 9. And the same thing has happened. And I felt I hated myself for trusting my own husband and telling him I was sexually abused as a girl. I should have never told him. I hated myself for a very long time. Why did you tell him? Why didn't you keep your big mouth shut? Because that's how he got his evil revenge in abusing our daughter, which was more my daughter because I took care of her longer than what he did. He never did anything for her. And if he gave her any financial money for child maintenance, he would complain about it. She is not his daughter. She's my daughter that the government had twisted and warped, and they want to murder me because I exposed it into the public, and it's none of their business. What I say on my social media is my prerogative, is my business. It's got my name on it, not the politician's name on it, even if he owns YouTube or those YouTube owners. So it's totally unfair, unreasonable and abusive for them to attack me and violate me and remove my civil rights and my for privacy, for using my social media. I've noticed that they've put me on the path of danger, and at the same time they've put whores and prostitutes and pimps and very big business owners and adulterers and drug users and all types of established people who have their gymnasiums and their medications and their privileged positions, all the safety in the world. They're not there threatened. So God threatened them through disease. I take it back. I met a cowboy called Chad. I take it back. I don't like you. In fact, I want you to stop touching me, stop invading me, and stop getting on my social platform because you're a narcissist, because you're an abuser, and I take my compliment back. I wasn't flirting with you, and I think you're ugly, so get lost. I wasn't flirting with Chad. I found his white hat interesting, not knowing that he's the devil and he was going to attack me for complimenting him. So he would want to murder me for saying I haven't mentioned his surname. I just said Chad. But if I had mentioned his surname, he would want to murder me. So I hate him. He's got a cancer dick. He thinks he's best friends with all types of gangsters, governors. I hate him. I take my compliment back. Or anybody that I complimented by civil terms, in a way of a platonic term, not any other term. But they said, it was a different term I complimented them. They assumed this. And I said, no, that's the wrong term, you see. So I'm making some more lemon juice. So it's like I'm being robbed and raped by these evil, perverted men who can't keep their noses out of mind their own business. They have to violate me in my hospital bed, the same as Hamas or anybody else who they call a tyrant did to the Jews or Jews did to the Muslims as terrorists. And they're getting paid to terrorize women who on their hospital beds, who are a single woman, who are not a couple. He's a couple. He's a pervy couple of all. I never had an affair with him. I never told him that I fancied him. I said I liked him as a friend, to learn something else from the culture and to just learn and let him lead. And he kept calling me over to his website and I didn't go. Because I rejected him, he started cussing me out. I didn't go because I felt my intuition told me that he was a devil. Any man who boasts in his weapon or is in his own flesh will be cursed by God. So no, I'm not going to like him. God actually warned me. God warned me when I got on social media for the first time in 5 years. Don't like anybody. Yeah, don't like anyone. Because they're all perverted. Even if you speak to a young student who is in college, a man or a woman, they will say, well, why are you talking to me? You're not my age group. And God's given me my youth back, my life back. I'm happy if I live or die. But now, I have said and corrected those who assume that I think all fame and fortune is evil. It is in the systemic abuse. It is not in non-systemic abuse. So domestic abuse, violating a woman's privacy on a hospital bed is systemic abuse. Abusing my shower facilities, not having it for 2 years. Abusing not having a proper central heating for many years on a half-broken thing. Denied justice, denied medication, antibiotics, denied. So I need to find out. I've spoken to the medical people who could hopefully sort out my medical conditions with my bulging spine and bloating stomach. I have about 2 or 3 things in my stomach that's gone wrong as a result of, the government's intervention. Running across my life since I was, I think I was about 9 years old when I went to boarding school, or was assigned or organised to start the boarding school. Never had real family, so I'm sort of used to being on my own. Sometimes it just gets lonely, but with my lovely pets at home, I'm not lonely. And the holy angels, and I pray all the time. There's a lot of hardships I did have, untold hardships. And the things that I have managed to keep protected, because it was very precious, even in hard times. I would hide things, I would code things, and have my own diary and my own journals so that I'm aware of what's going on. I believe in angels, I believe in heaven. And yes, we do have flying monkeys that these would be the type that would run across your boundaries without you even realizing and threaten you. So when they say ape or monkey, they normally mean a negative term. But I don't believe that all monkeys and apes are bad. It happens to be used in the world of systemic abuse as a negative term. And they would just run across, typically, on social media, across your boundaries, on any environment, on work office environment, on stage, on any given setting. Could be on the beach, could be on the shop, could be in the home environment. The incident of these monkeys suddenly appearing out of the blue, running across and being there to disrupt you suddenly. And so you think, oh, well, I'm being perturbed to find out why this monkey's so excited. Is it good news? No, it's only bad news. It becomes more perplexing and a puzzle where you think, oh, is it going to be a happy ending? Is it a good puzzle? No, the monkey's running across because it wants to steal something from you, or because it wants to put you in the center of attention for negativity. And then you find the witch and the wizard standing in front of you with a devil's sword in their arm, ready to execute you. Well, this is very similar to Witch Wizard of Oz. There were flying monkeys there, and the next thing that they knew was that they had to be confronted by a witch. And the owner of the monkey was just laughing her head off with the wicked witch, because of course they got more money and more attention for it, using me to put them on my playlist. But I was doing it because I was learning, not because I respected them. I don't respect someone that doesn't respect me. I was putting it on my playlist because I was learning and being open-minded enough to make my circle of friends be open-minded, so that they learn what the secular world thinks and how they behave. So I'm carrying out like a social circle. What do my friends who do respect me think about what the non-religious people think? So I'm sort of mutual. It's a civil right, saying I'm not too friendly, I don't respect you because I know you don't respect me, and I'm not allowing you to take advantage of me by putting your program in my playlist, and you're mocking and insulting me at the same time. No, I'm doing it for the purpose of education, for the purpose of listening to somebody else talk from a non-Christian perspective, non-religious perspective, regarding experience connected to domestic abuse and how they were dealing with it and what their mental health experience is with it. And it's just not told enough. It's untold. So now it's being told. I can see the difference between the devil's people and God's people, because they're saying something very similar to what the Christian people are saying, regards to the people shaping them, not God shaping them. So that's why I say it's the devil's, because it's the same as human worship. Oh, you will shape the way I think and the way I behave. You will shape my penis in what shape you want it to be, or what I want it to be. So it's the dick telling them how to think rather than them thinking for themselves, or the vagina telling them how to think, or they're just going to go in a corner and cry quietly because they're terrorized for attacking me. And so I'll say, well, I'm sorry, I made you cry, but the point is, I have had physical agony and chronic pain, and I did not need to add fear to that. God teaches me to fear God more than human beings and what human beings do and slave masters do, to attack me, to make me as a victim, to further bring me closer to my attacker, which is mockery of a cheeky bad monkey, of a witch. So science and religion is looking at a different perspective, how we can secure and manage the fear, such as a bear chasing after you, or if it's not a bear, it's some mysterious monster that's hiding in the dark. But none of them have strict discipline. For criticizing me for sharing somebody else's post, either on Facebook or YouTube. I've stopped using Facebook for about 6 years now. And yet it says share me. It says subscribe to me. And so as a result, I've come to say I don't like any of them because they've disrespected me and said I wasn't beautiful. They said that I had very bad memory. They said that I had no brain after having a concussion. I passed out. They said that any encouragement I received from positive posts, it wasn't meant for me. It was meant for the whore, the adulterer, the couple. It's not meant for single people. It's not meant for the disabled people. It's not meant for socially isolated people. It's not meant for the poor people. So they're all sick that they've done this. And like I say, if I had known this, I would have never used Facebook. If I was warned, I would have never used YouTube. And so I now I have no doubt that I'm really alert that they are insulting me by saying it's not for me, it's only for them, and I'm insulting them to say, no, it's not for you, it's only for me. So that's the fight. So I raise my arms up again in memory of what angels are doing. I raise my arms up praising God to say they're not the ones who have broken my soul. And I'm not broken-hearted anymore. I was, but I'm not anymore because God has made me change a lot. Every pain I had, every agony I had, God changed me a lot. I have learned not to be bitter. I have learned not to be dark, deep and dangerous. I have learned to resist temptation and tempt them instead, to test them instead. I have learned to hate everyone that's evil and doing evil. They have more weapons than me. They have more resources than me. They have more family than me. They have more choice and all types of opportunities that I don't. So they're evil because they don't respect themselves in small matters. No one should respect them in big matters. That's what God says. They cannot be trusted in small matters, therefore they cannot be trusted in big matters. So it's a monstrosity of someone who is in the middle with me. I used to find that fascinating. Now I find it frustrating to say you don't belong here. I'm the middle person with Jesus Christ. All the perverts are on my left and the right. And as for the centre government, regarding my safety, if there was a third world war after the Second World War, or if there is some type of a blitz, as it was in London, they would then send reports and say, well, we all prioritize families. They've done this, they've done that, and they're doing the same thing around housing and how they're building housing estates. This is only for families. It's only for couples. And to me, this is a boogeyman. That they've done it. And I don't feel safe as a result of using social media. I can't have a kind or smiling face like these celebrities do in their top-notch equipment. See, it's lovely, well-being, cool, calm and collected, softly spoken, sophisticated, eloquent. And Big Brother sitting there, taken away my well-presented professional presentation in exchange for them who have top-notch equipment. So it's those who have versus those who have nots, and those who have nots are assigned to have a boogeyman, are assigned to have horrible criminals let loose who have tempers, or students who have hot tempers that want to attack me. And so be it. Because to me, they're morons, they're bitches and bastards. If aggression is all they know in society, they're no use to society. And so the only way they can be useful to society is kidnap illegally, unlawfully kidnap migrants' children and make up some stupid false story. Is that how your criminals and murderers are useful? And murdering women who are migrants living in England. So this is how they've made murderers and criminals and boogeymen very useful, as I explain in this video. I would never tell my daughter she was going to get a smack, push her and throw her onto bed, lock her up, beat her up emotionally and physically. I've never done that. Actually, I sacrificed my own needs for her. Money, I was in an old dress so that she could have more food and more outings. She wasn't starving. That was an accusation. Maybe a one-off, like within 24 hours, just have cereals and a sandwich. But she was never starving. That's a lie made on social media, that I've starved my daughter or made her stay in a room alone in a dark room. All of these lies. So I'm recalling how they have emotionally abused my daughter through kidnapped, and she would do anything that they tell her so that they wouldn't hurt her anymore or threaten her anymore. So they made lying reports. She didn't have a life journey with me. They said that she was, and then they were on the longest waiting list, and then they suddenly stopped my involvement with the life journey, change of life, which made my daughter and me very much uncomfortable. So it was a constant threat, death threat to me, my only guilt, and if I was going to make an advertisement, chronic long-term sickness and illness and disability, how I have added weight because I've got a terrorist stalking me and I can't really go out for a walk. It's not very reassuring. It's the opposite of that. But God has guarded me and protected me, although I knew I was gang stalked. And rather than the government deal with the stalker and the terrorist, it was easier for them to attack me and kidnap my daughter, to put the blame on me. Because it's easier for the government to kill me and more difficult for the government to kill him. So my daughter was aged 4 and 5 when I know God told me through an abusive profile. He was the one who was a child abuser. And they're telling her to love her dad. They're telling her lies about her dad. They're protecting her through a corrupt government. They've turned my daughter against me through my ex-mother-in-law. And I have someone who never wants to see anything from my perspective. But I hope that will change in future when I have the opportunity to introduce my relatives to my social media. And when I have the opportunity to make myself known, because so far they don't know me and they never wanted to know me. So there is a curse associated to my channel because my family disowned me because my mother's boyfriend sexually abused me when I was also 4 and 5. So that has repeated itself, and I've never had any help. Never had anywhere I could go to for help. In the name of money and in the name of toxic men. So as a result, I don't want to have, after I've had so much bad experience, I don't want to have a son. If I had a choice, if I was going to be pregnant, I will pray to God to have another daughter. But it's very unlikely I will be pregnant again. Instead of a son. Because of the society we live in, I've just realised that too many men are being demasculinated. in a non-religious society, which makes the men even more dangerous than women, because men are physically stronger than women. They can overpower a woman or a child, even if she is fat, because men are usually taller than women or they're stronger than women. So they can overpower and become very abusive as a result of a non-religious society. They can also become very abusive if they've had many sexual partners. They can become confused and keep a woman hostage. And that's exactly what's happened to me. And since we say smile and the world smiles with you, it isn't anymore. So I did have a lovely council person for the government, and his name was Cullen. I wrote him an email and he helped me. And that was my reward for being an independent woman and making sure I had quality. He didn't discriminate against my status, being employed or unemployed, disabled or sick or not sick. So he was to me very exciting because he knows what it is like to be civil and professional, compared to those that are mixing professionalism with personal, which are out of order. Then they behave criminal. He wasn't stroking my ego. He was just making sure I had my civil rights. And I hope to arrive in the future for people that do want to know what happened to mother and baby. She was not a baby. She was 9 years old when they took her from me. But very, very vividly, I remember how upset she was being separated from me as her one and only family. She's lived with me for nearly 10 years. And then all of a sudden, they said to her, don't say this. They said to her, do say this. And they brainwashed her. They made a fool out of my daughter in the village school, which had lots of half-caste Nazi teachers. To our horror, we discovered it was the worst primary school, the worst secondary school, and the worst university. Well, my daughter now arrives every day. I haven't seen her for about 6 years, and she's going to turn 20. So some of the people in the Council of Hertfordshire know this, other people don't know this. And it's interesting to know that those that do respect me do not acknowledge that I am a timid person, or I'm not aggressive, I'm not arrogant. Those council officials that do not respect me accuse me of being timid. I'm not quick enough to make quick decisions, rambling on about this and that and not making any sense. And so I can now tell the difference between those officials that are helpful compared to those officials that are unhelpful. And I hope things will be more successive in the future for my opportunity to see my daughter again now that she's going to be 20, which is in her 20s. As a rare opportunity, maybe once a year or something even. I remember when I was first reading my Bible, I had to hide in the bathroom with the door shut, locked, because he stopped me reading my Bible. He stopped me from resting. I was constantly working for him as a type of a slave. And he made it a game of psychological abuse and physical abuse as ex-husband who I divorced in 2007, and he died in 2012. So I don't want bad history to repeat itself. That to me was a curse, and it was a gift and a curse, because we were unequal in many ways. That he was determined to break my heart and my daughter's heart, and he did it. And I was constantly afraid of humans. I was constantly crying. For the 4 years I was married to him, and the 4 years I was stuck in mental health as a not paranoid, but personality disorder. I could write a large book. I could do a very big film about it. I still see my daughter's clothing when she was a young child. And I'm growing out my hair. I've put oil in my hair, so it's very greasy. I put Vaseline in my hair to make sure, or oil to massage my scalp before I wash it in the sink. And I have some happy news that I can have a smile on my face again, that they're finally going to refurbish my bathroom. My housing has agreed to do so and support me to move home. I'm speaking about this because I want to be the light in the darkness for people who are abused out there, and for people who have maybe 3 or 4 or 5 children with an abusive dad. And they have to survive by finding the light in the darkness. That is, when you feel that everything has been a mess, keep consistent with a routine until you had enough sleep, or you have had enough detoxination, and then keep that routine. They say no pain, no gain. Keep that routine. And then when the pain is relieved, always seek the comfort in Christ, who will also help you to survive. And if it's a lie, if you do dying and know someone who is dying, and is constantly being abused, why don't you peg it? Why do you have to stay alive? That's what my enemies are saying to me all the time, because they know how much they've stolen from me. The devil has taken too much away from me as a result of living with the enemy and being married to the devil. He's dead, but I am fit for nothing according to the judge, for not having a car, not having capital, and not having a colonial community, not having my own. So that they came to destroy my nest and ruffle some feathers. They don't have a conscience because they're bullies. Since they've known that they have a way to choose to torment and torture me and make me often ill without having the correct medicines, I'm in bad company. I've always been in bad company and unsafe and a crisis. So I keep praying to God to help me to pass over the evil, and to just have some encouragement for someone listening to me that has a loved one dying. Could be a child or an adult. I remember my daughter and I used to hug every day. We used to sing every week. We used to have games and films. Every month we would go out, and then suddenly they've stolen her childhood and she vanished, leaving me feeling that everything has disappeared, as if I was displaced. However, I was not living for my daughter. I had my own life. I had my own inspirations. She was a significant part of my life. However, I didn't feel that I was special because of my daughter. I felt I was special because of the fact that we were celebrating life and what God has given us, that the devil has taken away because of the devil dad who hated his life, so he wanted me to hate my life. And he almost got his wish. I did start to hate my life for losing my daughter and couldn't rescue her from the enemy. And I continued to serve God. And condition got worsened, my physical condition, my mobility problems. She was a very gentle and caring child. But then one horror night, she said, "Mum, shall I massage your back? Mum, shall I walk on your back? Mum, shall you give me a piggyback?" She didn't mean it. I know, she didn't mean to be too rough. It was an accident. An accident happens with children. She cracked my back, and me moving that furniture for her first new home. And I had no comfort. It was agonizing pain. It's better now, but a slight turn or something like that. Very sharp pain, which could be even worse than childbirth. Like bone grinding. Ooh. So I hadn't had a nurse or a doctor to reassure my recovery. I had God, who said, "You're not going to die. I love you." And sometimes I felt God send me an angel to touch my head, or I felt kissed. And I say, "Thank you, Lord, for my life." Even though my daughter's not here to hug me anymore, and having her little voice, feeling that she was close to me, that has all disappeared. There's nothing worse. No other hell on earth is worse than to me it's the same as death. For that loved one, or that or visiting her in her, she would have her own room. She always had her own bedroom all her childhood while living with me. And I remember one night visiting her room unexpectedly, and I said, "I thought you were asleep." I said, "Good night." And she said, "No, Mum, I couldn't sleep. The foxes woke me up, and I was looking at the foxes in the night sky." And then I would hold her in my arms, read her a bedtime story, and then she'd gone to sleep. But this cancel culture has decided to write what makes me so angry is files after files of disinformation. And you didn't keep your daughter because you didn't get a boyfriend. You didn't keep your daughter because your daughter hated you. You didn't keep your daughter because you starved her to death. All of these lies. They would say anything to justify the wrong, corrupt politicians and governors and protect their integrity, but destroy my integrity as if I never existed. She would be saying, "Mom, Mama, Mama," and it caused me a lot of distress losing my daughter, who I cared for, because of the nuisance stalker. And I sometimes used to be terrified when my daughter had been separated from me in 2014. It's now 2024. Looking at the shadows appearing in my room of cars driving by. I never had a car. I was learning to drive, but I always wanted to drive, and I still want to drive, but I could never afford a car. And so when they took her, this monster was still driving around in his car. And when I told Neighborhood Watch, nobody believed me. I was being stalked and by this boogeyman. Even when I was in hospital, he stalked me in hospital. And it's illegal. It's not the sort of light that I want, even if he does own the street light as a taxpayer. So I'm very concerned for my daughter. These toxic men are so bad. They could kill a dragon, they could kill a dinosaur. And say people have to die, it's a way of life. Reality check. God has taught me not to be afraid of humans, not to be afraid of death, being tortured or tormented, or anyone who annoys me. Just know that everything in the world or systemic abuse will become strange and dim and foggy and misty, that eventually I don't have to see it anymore, and I will just go home to my Father in heaven. I don't have an imbalance in my brain. There's not too much grief that God had not cured through sleep and through healthy eating. So again, I would just have one meal if I'm not doing much at home, or if I have too much pain or a bad turn. So I had just cheese and bread and cheese and onion sandwiches today, and or I had an apple every day, keeps the doctor away. I arranged to have my stomach and spine checked. And we laughed. I said chauffeur. I don't want a chauffeur car to go to my GP. I need a chaperone when I'm examined, so that nothing is anonymous regarding my hospital pack. But I'm upset, and so should you be upset if any third party was looking at your medical records without your permission. And I did say opt me out. I also said do not send me any text messages, but they carry on sending me text messages from my new GP, and they hadn't properly opted me out. So already I'm being bullied. It's a mixed bag. And sometimes I get to the breaking point, not to have like a nervous breakdown, but it means that I can't do anything. I'm overwhelmed. I just have to sit still and have this freeze, because I can't do too much. And if they expect me to do too much, it becomes abuse. So currently, I'm doing all the administration. I'm doing the one who is doing the photocopying. I'm the one who is paying for this and that, which is what grown-ups and adults do. But someone else is mismanaging that, is going to look at their majority versus my minority. Someone else who's not looking out for my best interests. Are making things less straightforward, more complicated, attacking my finances for their finances. And these are very unusual beings connected to my social media. And this should not be happening. So this is the certain truth of what's happening as a result of using social media. Not only for me to rebuke the devil who is a terrorist, who's always treacherous, who is always making tragedy, and who hates the truth. It will test you how much of the truth you know in order for them to suck out the truth as a parasite and replace that truth with a lie. So these are troublemakers. This is how dangerous and perverse social media has become. And this is what heathens do. They're godless. They're not Christians, and they don't fear God. And this is why they're not bothered if they're going to be the hypocrite. And so we have to test all spirits according to what God warns us to do. And when the enemy is angry and frustrated and annoyed, it will want to turn the tables on me, to say, well, I'm going to pretend to be your friend, and then when you come a little closer, I'm then going to attack you. So no one has seen me naked. I can confirm that. It was only my daughter's dad who saw me naked. Anyone else who stripped me, it was a strip. I still had my underwear on. That they had physically removed. So it's disingenuous. And they're saying if you don't wear any makeup on the face, or for Halloween coming, if you're not ugly enough, you have to wear makeup to make yourself look ugly. And so women are wearing hijabs to cover their heads as Muslims. They feel they're ugly enough. They don't have to wear a Halloween costume. The Russians that are wearing the women's covering their heads, they feel they're ugly enough because they're covering, according to the Western civilization, they hate Muslims so much, and they hate women from Russia who are covering their heads, that we look ugly. But the Bible also says if you cannot cover your hair for a woman, then you must cut your hair short because you're not covering your hair. And that's what I've done. I've cut my hair short for practical reasons. And they're saying I'm ugly because I look like a boy. So they're there to spite you and cause all types of religious fanaticism, extremism against women that they say are ugly. But there's a positive ugliness and there's a negative ugliness, because if the positive type of ugliness is to make the enemy scared of you. The negative type of ugliness is an insult. The positive type of ugliness is to say we fear God and you're going to be scared of us. So for a Muslim or European woman, a single woman who look like boys are scary. I hope to God are scary enough against not only the Western civilization, each and every civilization that is a heathen, that is godless. I think they're also inspecting suitcases, being pulled or pushed at night time. Could be a dead body in there. So if you're a single person, after 6 p.m. with a suitcase, you may be stopped by police. Which is asking for trouble then, isn't it? Unless you want to be stopped by police, so you can put that police officer in your suitcase in bits and pieces. And now it's getting very, very, very humorous. So, I'd say another definition of finding sympathy for people who are suffering is a sense of humour and a sense that you feel safe. Because that will suddenly have the holy angels and God support the system of recovery. So recovering from systemic abuse, recovering from any suffering, physical pain or emotional pain, to have a sense of a safe environment and to have a sense of humour and practical support that is appropriate for child or adult, straight versus the non-straight, because the non-straight could be raped as much. So I do have sympathy for people who are LGBTQ who have been robbed or raped and forced to be LGBT, forced to be a lesbian or forced to be gay. And they don't want to be. So they need to recover from that. And then the last thing you want is a pastor or a preacher saying, I don't want to help you. They need help, but in the right appropriate sense, in the right gathering of people, in the right congregation where the sick are separated from the non-sick. But they become a hindrance rather than helping sometimes someone. And so they're not saving souls like this. To insult somebody that is injured or to insult someone who has been abused, there's nothing more ugly or inhumane than that. And scary than that is a creep. Another thing to check, particularly men, during the Halloween and the dark forces coming out in October, is not to drive too far during winter time. If you drive for many miles, there's more risks involved for life-death situation and injury at winter time, which is a reminder and a warning. Also to check the men's pockets, because this is where they could find a setup or some type of a trap in the man's shirts, because they have their shirts. They have to check their shirts to see that nothing has been planted in there as a trap inside their pockets. So we do hear of the curse of pocket pickers, of stealing your wallet or your money for men. But there are other things that they can, instead of take out of your pocket, insert something in your pocket. That my last hamster, Cheeky Squeaky, she always used to do that. If she escaped from her cage, she would always put something running around. If she accidentally escaped from the cage, however, have a new hamster cage, and the new hamster cage is designed much better where there's no escape for the hamster. But I had a Cheeky Squeaky, and she used to. Oh, she was some type of a curse. She would bite holes through the cage plastic, and the plastic cage was bitten through. She made a hole, and she could go through the hole in the cage, and she would eat plastic. She died from plastic poisoning. And when she ran around the home, she would put things inside my slippers. You think, oh, that's a nasty trick. Or was she being nice? But she was last seen very sick and for a while dying from poison, from being poisoned. So another thing that they are saying, do not go to an unfamiliar road in the winter time. And if you are in an unfamiliar road at the winter time, in the dark time, it's always important to turn left, because, I don't know, your body, your heart is normally at the left side, isn't it? More than the right side. But if you are maybe first time employed, or if you or I a first time going to a shop somewhere, and then you become lost somewhere in the dark. The question is, should we always turn left? Would you be protected by God if you turn left, or would you be attacked by the devil if you turn left if you don't have a relationship with God? If you don't have a relationship to God, you can say, boo, you'll be attacked, turning left. But if you have a relationship to God, instead of saying boo, you will say bye. You're a byword to the monster. So I'm familiar with this, having that gang stalker and all of them joined together. They pre-planned the home arrest. They've pre-planned all types of accusation and putting poo and dirt on me. Unbelievable. So that's how I close my video. Finishing my lemon. I'm not bitter. I am hurt. It hurts. Ouch. As a result of all that, I can't subscribe to anybody. So if you've noticed why I have suddenly stopped subscribing to you, it's because my stalker wants to overtake my channel and is enabled by a corrupt government to do so that they can turn my friends against me or they can attack my channel. So that's why I have unsubscribed, so that they're unable to attack my channel anymore. Oh, they're less able or less crafty to be able to attack my channel for subscribing to somebody. So if I subscribe, maybe subscribe to 1 or 2 maximum. I'm Maya Maria, always known as that, and also Mima, which is also known as that. It's middle of October 2024. My bird. Good night, birdie.